and experiences. So we are beginning to build kind of across four pillars, kind of four target audiences we think about right in this way. And so one of those efforts we call the partnership program, which is with different educational institutions. We want to, they might already have.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Leadership Loading Podcast. I'm Jason McLaren.
And I'm Justin Habash. I'm from the senior vice president for the leadership programs at the National Medal of Honor Center for Leadership.
Awesome. Dr. Habash, he's being modest there. Is it okay if I call you Justin then?
Please do. Please do. Yes.
All right. So Justin's from the Medal of Honor Center for Leadership, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But let's start off, Justin, if you can tell us about your military background, what led you to join the military and what you did in the military.
Sure. So I do not come from a military family. And so I decided when I was a senior in high school that I needed to make sure I was paying for my college education on my own, not making my parents responsible for that. So I started to look at ROTC programs and fortunately was accepted to the Army ROTC program at Xavier University in Cincinnati, where I spent 4 years learning how to become an infantry officer. And I commissioned as an infantry officer in 2003, excuse me, and became an officer in the 101st Airborne, where I served for 4 years. So it was never my plan to be an infantry officer. I thought I would go to Hawaii and sort of hang out and surf and, maybe oversee a warehouse in the Army, that kind of thing. But really, I fell in love with the idea of leading soldiers in difficult times. And so when September 11th happened, when I was a junior in college, and that really reaffirmed that I wanted to be a part of the infantry. So I spent 4 years serving as a platoon leader, an executive officer, and a company commander in the infantry.
Good deal. And then what did you do when you got out of the military?
So I went to Iraq in combat in 2005 and 2006, and it was a very challenging tour for my unit. And so when I came back and decided that I was going to get out, I had a lot of questions about the world and I guess life ultimately. And so I decided I wanted to pursue a PhD in philosophy and to really for the idea of teaching. And so that's kind of what I did. So I went from being in a very high functioning military unit to all of a sudden being a graduate student in philosophy and trying to learn about all of these kind of deep philosophical questions, that I had and that others had wrestled with for thousands of years. And so I started down this higher education path with the idea that I would be a professor, right, and teach philosophy courses, ethics courses. But sort of along the way, it happened that I had to find a job a little bit sooner than I would have liked, maybe on the professor side of things, that allowed me to combine my military experience, my leadership experience serving as an officer in the Army, with my higher education background, with my PhD and my teaching background. And so I sort of went down this path of being a faculty member and an administrator at different universities, helping other faculty learn how to teach and engage students in their classrooms and building kind of educational infrastructure. And so that's what I've been doing for, the last 15 years or so, teaching, but also leading teams within higher education whose responsibility really lies in helping faculty build online courses and other learning experiences for a wide variety of audiences.
That's awesome. That's kind of what I want to do. I'm working on my PhD now, or actually DBA, in leadership, business leadership. And so kind of what I want to do, help businesses set up their curriculums and that sort of thing. So definitely ways for the military to leverage your skills that you get in the military and excel, whether it be, obviously not everyone's going to jump and go the PhD route, but there's also instructors out there that do I think they call them like corporate trainers. If that's what you did in the military, you can do that in your private sector. So that's one way to use your skills outside of just your military MOS. So definitely.
There's a lot about the military teaches you about instructional design and how to sort of deliver a curriculum that you might not even realize at the time that you have some of those skills that you can translate into, right, being able to kind of teach and build workshops and curricula for for different groups. So you're absolutely right about that, Jason.
100%. Yeah, it's awesome. So you did all that, and then now are you full time at Medal of Honor Center, or?
I am, yes. I have been at Johns Hopkins for the last 5 years as the assistant dean for teaching and learning, where I led a team of about 40 instructional designers and media professionals and technologists building the curriculum. And so I've been working kind of part-time to help build the curriculum for the center while I was doing that. I also teach still at Hopkins. I've taught there ethical leadership and other ethics and business leadership courses. And so I still do teach there part-time to kind of keep my teaching chops going, but now I am full-time at the center building the curriculum and being able to kind of deliver our workshops and our leadership programs to audiences all across the country.
Awesome. And from what I research, it's open to everyone, not just military.
Yeah, we sometimes get that rap of, this is a military organization because we are the Medal of Honor, Center for Leadership and affiliated with the Medal of Honor. But it really, at the core of what the center is about is the Medal of Honor values. And so this idea of courage, integrity, sacrifice, commitment, patriotism, and citizenship are the core values that the medal is about, right? And that those Medal of Honor recipients have sort of lived that in the heroic actions that they have taken and the choices they made in those critical moments. Part of what we are attempting to do is sort of bring that idea of those values and values-based leadership to as many different audiences as we can. And this idea that those values and the character skills associated with those values are important for leaders in every sector and at all different ages, kind of across society.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's great. Leveraging military traits to teach future leaders. Obviously, we have this podcast just trying to get leadership out there and help people figure out their, what they can do with their skills outside of their 9 to 5 or their job that maybe they did in the military or a first responder, and leverage those leadership skills into a new position.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways that we don't realize that they translate, that your experience in the military does translate. There are some challenges there. The military, there's this sort of a culture of shared values in many ways, right? And this buy-in to the mission and what we're doing. And in some ways, some of the challenge of transitioning into other roles is that might not exist in such a strong way as it did in your military unit. And so, there are definitely some hills to climb there, but it is something that you can take a lot of what you know and learn and translate it to the experiences in in the boardroom, in the healthcare sector, and a lot of the different opportunities that veterans can get. But it doesn't even have to be veterans in many ways, right? We are trying to help everyone understand that these values are important to everybody, to be able to lead with courage, for example. And how do you develop the courage to lead in those difficult moments is just one of the questions we help folks answer.
Yeah. And so if you had like a new leader, maybe they haven't had time to join your courses and you wanted to give them a piece of advice, maybe you're just, on the street corner, what would you tell them?
Well, I think, part of the mindset that's important for a leader to have, right? And for me, it kind of starts there is, your role as a leader is to create the conditions where the team can succeed, right? And so thinking about what are the practical techniques or strategies or things that I can do to do that. And I think a lot of times we think of leadership is, if we just know these things, then we'll be able to do it. But a lot of it comes down to the practice and the habits, right, that a good leader has in creating those, kind of the conditions where the team can succeed. And so that's part of what I would say is focus first on kind of the mindset of what a leader has and how they lead for their teams as you begin to build sort of this skill set ultimately for ways in which that translates to the kinds of the specific kinds of mission that your team has ultimately. So I could talk a lot more about it, about how you build that kind of mindset. But if you don't come in understanding leadership in that way, you are really going to struggle in leading, especially really talented professionals who know and understand what they're about and have high expectations for their leader.
Yeah, I equate that to situational leadership, where you have different people are at different levels in their leadership career, and so you have to model your leadership style to them. And so I think that's very relevant, and how we move forward in our leadership styles. So the center there, are you guys fully up and running? Everything I read seemed like you guys are still working on it.
We are building currently. Now we've started to begin to offer different workshops and experiences. So we are beginning to build kind of across four pillars, kind of four target audiences we think about right in this way. And so one of those efforts we call the partnership program, which is with different educational institutions. They might already have courses on leadership, but we want to bring this idea of values-based leadership and character development and more of a conversation on those things into existing curriculum. So we're looking for and exploring a number of different partnerships with different educational institutions about how we might bring some of our curriculum and integrate it with them for their audiences, their learners that already are kind of affiliated with those organizations. We are also building our own Leadership Academy, which is our online programs that'll be available to anybody with internet access and kind of a laptop or a computer where they can sort of take our online courses. We don't want to be limited to particular geographic regions, or particular audiences. There's a lot of people that are looking for, like those who would listen to your podcast, Jason, about, looking for leadership development on their own time. How can I, kind of skill up and sort of take my career to the next level? So we want to be able to offer them things that they can do on their own time to, kind of increase their understanding and their idea of, these character skills associated with the Medal of Honor values and how that translates to their own leadership style. We're also looking to kind of build, programs for organizations that are interested in thinking about how they build a culture of values-based leadership. That's one of the challenges that we've heard a lot about, is that these cultures necessarily that they aren't really around shared values, and they aren't sort of driven by these core ethical principles or core values that an organization needs or wants to drive the ethical decision making in that organization. And so we build programs for specific groups that want us to come in and work directly with their teams, their staff, to help build these skill sets that they can use right away in their kind of day-to-day operations. And then the last program is our fellowship program. We are attempting to really help young people build these skills through habit, for example, right? And so it's a fellowship program that's a year-long experience where we bring together cohorts of high school students or college students together to go through these leadership challenges with one another, but then also on their own. Each month they go through a different leadership challenge. It's focused on one of the Medal of Honor values. And then we come together on Zoom and kind of process, what does this look like to build the habit of courage, for example? And how do you do that? And then maybe hear from a Medal of Honor recipient about this idea of courage and what it means to kind of build that skill set. So over the course of that year, our junior leader fellows would build a toolkit, a skill set in courage and integrity and some of the other related values that aren't Medal of Honor values, like empathy, humility, curiosity. So at the end of that experience, they really have this sort of new skill set that they can immediately employ for whatever's next for them. So each of those different pillars are the programs that we're building, but really it is an attempt to bring the Medal of Honor values to as many different audiences and in the way that makes sense for them that we can across this country.
Awesome. I like the pillars there and how you're breaking up by segment, and anyone can get involved somehow depending on what you're looking for. So that's awesome. It's funny. I'm in the Dallas area here, and there's a Medal of Honor museum being built. And so when I saw the thing, I was like, is he in Dallas? But yeah. So if people did want to reach out to y'all, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, I would say go to our website, National Medal of Honor Center for Leadership. Find it in your search engine and come check us out. We have contact information there to touch base. Again, we're building programming that is, for online, so you can access, that anywhere. But we do workshops in different cities, and we bring experiences to different organizations all throughout the country. So if you are part of an organization that might be interested in hosting one of our workshops or our sessions for your staff, then I would reach out to us via our website.
Awesome. And I did not wear my grunt style shirt because you were on the show today. I just happened to grab this one, and I was like, oh, he's an infantry guy. So thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate the opportunity to be here, Jason. I love what you're doing. I have listened to a number of your previous episodes, and this is a really powerful set of lessons from people who really have lived leadership. So really appreciate being able to come on.
Awesome. Thank you. Hey, everybody. This episode of the Leadership Loading podcast was brought to you by Go Heroes Inc., goheroes.org. if you'd like to be a sponsor, go ahead and check out our website or email us, and we'll get you all the information you need.
There are thousands of leadership and management podcasts to choose from. We're glad you chose the Leadership Loading Podcast, a Go Heroes production. If you'd like to support Go Heroes Inc., visit www.goheroes.org. And with that, it's time to wrap up today's show. Thank you so much for listening. We sincerely hope you liked it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with your family and friends. Let's all grow together. Thanks for listening to the Leadership Loading Podcast. Leadership Inspired.